Hello and welcome to Corner Comics, your weekly comic book reading club. I messed the intro up already. So I'm hanging out with my friends. We get together, we share some issues with each other, make each other read our comics, and then we get together and talk about them. So I'm joined by Emmanuel. How you doing this week?
I am good. It's been a great week, great couple of days.
All right, and also joined by Russ. How you doing this week?
Making comics great again, one panel at a time.
Is that Maka? Is that? All right. You guys want to let everybody know where they can find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Walrus, WALLRUSS, on Twitter. You can also find me at blacksuperherofan.com. And you can also find me at Comic Creators of Color. I'm not on the gram yet, but give me time. I'm working my way up to it.
All right.
You can find me on the gram at Emmanuel, and it's phonetic MMan_YOU_EL.
Okay.
MNUL.
Nice. All right. So this week we've got 6 more comics that we're going to talk about. I know Russ gave me some shit. He was like, "Did you really pick these because you wanted to read them, or are you just throwing shit out there?" But I do believe in my picks this week. I actually did enjoy them. So we'll run down the list. I'll do my 2. Emmanuel, you'll do your 2, and then Russ, you'll go do your 2. My first issue is Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. This is issue number 7 of the current run. My second issue is The Black Hood number 6. This is from the 2015 run of that comic. Emmanuel?
All right. My 2 picks are, let me get to them. The first pick is, sorry, I'm running through my computer here. All right. It is, notice this is why I'm always picked last, because as you guys go through yours, I'm reading yours. All right. So my first pick is Freshmen number 1. It was a short-lived comic. It was created in 2005. And the second pick I have is Catalyst Prime. And it's a revision, well, not a revision. We're revisiting a comic we went through before. This is issue number 4.
Right. Russ?
All right. My picks are as follows. The first one is No One Left to Fight. And it has the nerve on the front cover of every issue to say, the comic you always wanted. And we'll see if it delivered on that. My second pick is Murder Falcon, number 1, which is something that got turned on to me that I was like, this is wild and weird, and I kind of dig it. Those are my 2.
Yeah. So I switched up the order this week because of the order that you guys joined the chat. So your images are switched, and I figured it would be easier for anybody watching to just sort of follow along with us and go picture to picture.
Okay.
Nice.
Let's see here. Do we want to quickly mention the since this is sort of a follow-up from last week's ending topic, just want to quickly mention the sales that you found on Comixology, Russ?
Yes, sir. Okay. So we talked about how much digital comics costs almost as much as the print books, and that's bullshit. I can say that here, right? We don't appreciate that as true comics fans. And if I pay for a printed book, I feel like I should pay for that. But if you're giving it to me digitally and you're not even bothering to print them, it should be cheaper. So we found a couple of deals, 2 of them on Comixology. One is the Spider-Verse digital comic, the original Spider-Verse. There's been 2. The entire run Spider-Verse for $9.99 digital, which I think is a great find.
Yeah.
The other one is my favorite Spider-Man, no matter what you say, the Superior Spider-Man. That entire, the complete collection is what it says, of comics, all digital on Comixology for $9.99. And the final one, which we found on Humble Bundle, which I'm a fan of, because Spawn has come up in these chats more than once. These are basically almost 200 issues of Spawn, from number 123 all the way to the latest, almost 302.
Yeah.
For $15 on Humble Bundle.
Which is insane, because it's
insane. You can't read them all
no,
this year.
I just picked up 304 this last week. It was, it was the only thing coming out this week that I really wanted to pick up. So the fact that you can get 2 issues away from the latest issue for $15.
And we're talking, like I said, almost 200 issues. How long does it take you to read 200 issues? More than a few weeks. $15 will get you there. Humble Bundle, get up on it.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
All right, so we'll jump into the comics that we're talking about this week. If I can transition properly, get the cover up. So we'll start with my first pick, Red Sonja and Vampirella Meet Betty and Veronica, issue number 7. Now, I have 2 Archie-themed books this week, and the reason that I have those is because my wife and I have been watching Riverdale, and it has been consuming pretty much the entire time that we sit down to watch TV. I'm really surprised at how much I'm actually enjoying the show. It's this really weird, dark take on the Archie universe, and so I was trying to find comics that weren't necessarily Riverdale comics, but maybe were Archie comics in the same vein, and came across Red Sonja and Vampirella Meet Betty and Veronica, and thought, well, this is Russ yelling at me saying, let people play with the toys, man. Let them do what they want. And it's one of the weirdest crossovers I've ever seen. So I thought, why not? I sat down, read it, actually enjoyed it, and I was like, I'm going to share this with the guys. So, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Okay, here we go. Now, I like the idea of it, right? Because I've read other books where the Punisher came to the Archie universe, right? I'm like, that doesn't even should ever fit. I remember that comic, right? I remember Batman and Robin and Batgirl, the Rock'em Sock'em one, came to the Archieverse, right? I just don't think Red Sonja and Vampirella are the ones you need to be bringing here. I think in order to fit them in, don't get me wrong, I try to read everything. I try to have them fit in my head, but I felt like Betty and Veronica were sexier than, Vampirella and Red Sonja, which is not possible in any universe. Right? It's just wrong. I mean, the whole, I won't say 90%, but the whole thing about these characters, not only do they kick ass in a major way, Red Sonja and Vampirella, but they look sexy, beautiful, amazing doing it. Right? That's been consistent in their comics. Here, the cover looks good. Here, they've been drawn down, for lack of a better way to say it, to fit into this universe. Okay. And the violence, I feel, is less, because Red Sonja is a murderous bitch, right? See, Crom, you know what I mean? This is Conan, this is female Conan, pretty much in the universe, stabbing and killing. Here, she's having, a burger. I'm just saying. I'm not saying she can't enjoy a burger, right? But she's basically a barbarian, right? Yeah. She probably had never been in linen in her life, but you got her walking around in linen. Vampirella, I understand. She's already a princess. She liked the fineries, so she can code switch, right? Okay. So I felt like Red Sonja was not, her fury was not properly represented, right? I like the idea. I like them all there. I like girl power. Great. There should be more girl power books, right? But then I think, what are Betty and Veronica actually bringing to this? Right? What is their, are they like really smart? Are they sleuthy? Because we know they can't fight, right? Right. Maybe they got some karate skills. I'm just saying, but still, they really shouldn't be putting themselves in danger like that. They are not Lois Lane, right? So I had to, in order to sort of take a comeback to it, I had to say this is semi-comedy. Like, stop taking it too seriously. Yeah. Just let it unfold. But while I like the idea of it, and I like the idea of bringing murder to the Archieverse, because there should be more murder and everything. These two characters, like nothing about these two characters would make me, if I never saw Vampirella and read Sonja before, and I only read Archie comics, nothing about anything that happened with these two would say, let me go see them in their other comic. I didn't feel that was elevated.
Okay.
But if you're a fan of Archie and you need to see everything Archie, this is one of those books, right?
Yeah.
It kind of needs to be read in that way, just like when Punisher came to the Archieverse. I read that, right? I'm not mad I read it. I'm not mad I read this, but I can't recommend it.
Okay. Manuel?
All right, so first off, the art. Maria Laura Sinapo. I may be mispronouncing that last name. I like it, but only in the Archie universe. Now, when they introduced Red Sonja, but when we have Red Sonja and Vampirella in there, I really think they should have drawn them the way their comics are. Or at the very least, when they do the flashback, when they kind of shape their origins, it should be in like their style. Sort of like if you go into their dimension, you experience 3D, or
okay,
you know how some movies do it, or how some television shows do it. When they go into specific dimensions, their physical appearance changes.
Right.
I would have liked that. It's kind of one note. I've never really been interested in Archie comics for a number of reasons. The art is kind of one, but this is interesting, just splashing the other characters in there. That's why I think Archie Comics has a long history of having the Punisher gets introduced into their comics, or just different elements, just throw it in there, because it's kind of, even though it has weight of its own, I think if you introduce other elements, you marry it with someone or something else, then that makes it even more interesting. This might actually get me to read the next issue. This is issue number 7. So I might be interested in issue number 8 or 9, based off of Vampirella and Red Sonja. But just Betty and Veronica alone, I don't think it would have captivated me. It was interesting in the aspect that I will read further, and the art is one tone, but I've come to expect that. So story and art, I would give a 6
out of 10.
Out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the art fits for this book. I mean, it's basically an Archie book. So in that respect, it's actually pretty good, right? As general Archie comics go. There's nothing, I have nothing negative to say here as far as if this is an Archie only book, and that's why I came here, this delivers, right? In fact, it's a little better because you kind of sexied up Betty Veronica a little bit more than the OG way, right? So yeah, I think in that respect, if you're an Archie fan, this works. If that is not enough, then maybe not. You had something to say, Matt?
Yeah, well, I was going to point out that this is actually not Archie Comics; it's Dynamite. So it's almost like yeah, it's almost like Betty and Veronica are getting pulled into the Red Sonja Vampirella world, even though it takes place in Riverdale. The other thing that I will point out is that this is the start of the second story arc for this comic. So issues 1 through 6 was a full story arc, and then 7 through, I'm assuming, 12 is going to be another story arc.
And there is, by the way, a Vampironica comic that is current.
I've seen that too. I haven't read it, but I have seen.
So and I think in that universe, Jughead is a werewolf, and so they had that's another comic, and there's a comic where they meet, right? And so that I would find the idea of that I find more compelling because I know the character, and now they're vampire. How do they behave? The idea of that would draw me further. This was sort of like, not bad.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, we don't have to talk about this issue too much. Like I said, I was on the journey of trying to find stuff that was in the same vein as Riverdale and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and I was like, this is just too weird. I need to read this, and was actually surprised that I got to the end of the issue, and I was like, that was decent, you know. So
It might be a good jumping off point for people who are sort of leery of getting into comics. This might be a way to ease them in.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I like that one.
All right. So I'll jump into my second issue of the week, the Black Hood issue number 6. This is from the 2015 run, and this is very similar to. So Russ, you had said that you watched season 1 of Archie. You haven't watched season 2.
Correct. But I read about it. I understand there were some Black Hood characters.
Okay. And Emmanuel, you've never watched Riverdale, but see, the first part of season 2 of Riverdale has this Black Hood character, and the version of the Black Hood that's in this is very similar to the version of the Black Hood that's in the TV show. So I'm trying to get into like what this is exactly. It's almost a standalone issue. It is the start of a second story arc in this this series. Basically, the Black Hood is a cop that's no longer on the force, and is sort of this vigilante character. He's also sort of taken leave to go deal with maybe some drug addiction issues, and is with a bunch of other people, and sort of is his interaction with these other different characters. Try not to spoil it, but as a standalone comic, yeah, it's hard not to. Let me know your guys' thoughts, and then we'll sort of get into the story of it.
Okay, I'll go. Oh no, please, Emmanuel. I was hoping you would go. Go ahead.
The art itself, I really want to harp on the art. I really like it, but it distracts me as well. So here's the thing with the faces specifically. When they do close-ups on the faces, I have a hard time paying attention to the storyline because the faces are so unique. I wouldn't say they're ugly, but they're just so uniquely drawn to where like I'm just focused on like why, okay, the how. There's the main character with his face kind of half gone, which is interesting because of his backstory. But I mean, I don't know. I'm trying not to go too much in depth, but to be honest with you, the art itself is really all I can comment about the whole story.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say this, as I said in our comments, when I told you I didn't like John Romita Jr., I think I don't like this guy even more. And I've read a lot of books that Howard, forgive me for not saying his name right, Chaykin. Yeah. I've read a lot of books that he did of some shadow runs. He did a lot of things that I kind of like the idea of. But like Emmanuel, I find his art keeps taking me out of the story. Okay. Right? It's not noteworthy in a way that pleases me. It doesn't take me out in a good way. It sort of takes me out like, I don't want to say I say in my head, but maybe near that. So I find it, again, very distracting. If, for example, say this was written by or drawn by some other iconic, very fluid, thing, I would be more into the story. Okay. I felt the story was short. I felt like, okay, he's here. We know why he's here. We know what makes him want to do some action, and we see the mistake he made. Kind of, it didn't really, there wasn't enough meat there for me to say, I need to follow this moving forward, right? I felt like it was short, like really almost felt like half a comic in length. Okay. I felt like, okay, I need a little something more to say, to push me. It's like, oh my goodness, because there wasn't really an oh my goodness moment here. And I was hoping there'd be one, because an oh my goodness moment for me is something that says buy the next comic, right? Okay. Or, an oh my goodness, like, whoa, right? Or at least make me contemplate it. But here, because I knew what the art was going to be on the next one, and no oh my goodness moment, make me feel like it kind of wants to be noir, but it's not dark. It's all taking place during the day mostly. And it felt short to me. Okay.
I guess you kind of alluded to this, Russ, but if this had been drawn by somebody else, would you guys have been able to get more into the idea of this corrupted vigilante cop who's weaning himself off of drugs and trying to become a better person? Does that?
Yeah,
I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would. See, with the issue with this art is that it's not, in my opinion, it's not horrible. It's just so interesting enough to where it captivates me. Now, if it were really bad, then I would just focus completely on the story. Wouldn't worry about the art. The art wouldn't even be a character. But the fact that it's so unique, that it's so uniquely drawn, and I haven't seen anything much like it, I'm focusing on it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so towards the end, I actually did have a oh wow moment. I didn't see it coming that the woman he was interacting with was actually going to be the evil psychotic person. So we should point out he's getting close to another person that's in this group that's on this retreat. And she says like, "Oh, this guy's after me." Whatever. So the main character, I think his name's Greg, the cop, he then goes after this guy, and then kills him. And then we realize that it's actually the woman that was the evil person, and she sort of tricked him into killing this other person. And when we get to the end of the comic, she has this moment. She says, "I'd recognize those eyes anywhere." And part of the reason is because they're the same as mine. She's just as crazy as he is, which I didn't see coming, and I liked it.
So I felt like he should have beat her ass right there and dropped her in the ground next to that dude. I mean, she just walked away. What the hell?
Okay.
Right? I mean, come on. You framed me for murder, right? You are a killer. I stop killers. Right? I wear a mask so I can fucking stab them and shoot them. But you, what, because your booty is nice? What is it that made him not? And that sort of irked me. I was like, okay. And then she just walked away. She made him bury the fucking body. She actually did the murder. She was like, you bury that because they're going to be coming after you and there's evidence. And then leaves. I'm like, bitch, you're going to be right next to them, laying on top of corpse. Right? And you ain't getting out of this mound of dirt I'm going to put on you. And if they do find you, what the hell ever? Right? This ain't my real name anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just felt like if I really am a vigilante that murders bad people, really, in a grounded way, do I let her walk?
Well, but what if you're trying to reform yourself and not be a vigilante anymore?
I just fucking went in and tried to kill somebody. What the hell are you talking about? I put on the fucking mask, which I brought with me because she said so, and then went into the fucking bedroom to murder this guy.
Yeah. All right.
What the hell you mean? What am I not trying to be? I keep, it's like somehow the mask is still in my bag. I can't leave without it. Everywhere I go, somehow I pack the mask with me. Now, if that's who you are, dude, then why it just doesn't seem in alignment that you let the woman walk? Is it because she's a woman? Is it because she tricked you? You still gotta, hide that body right there. So obviously you think about what needs to happen right now. I would have knocked her the hell out. At least knocked her the hell out.
Well, all right. So
right?
I think it's alluded to that she may have connections to a drug cartel.
She would be dead. Who's gonna tell? She doesn't report back from her op. What the fuck, right? Who's gonna tell, right? Yeah. The guy she sent to kill is dead. She doesn't report back from her op. How is that gonna come back on me? What? She's made
under the cover of night.
Maybe we just need a protagonist.
Maybe at night does he strike?
But no, sorry, I don't feel it.
All right.
I want to. Yeah. So that broke it for me. Okay, I was just say that because I'm all about the character is a certain kind of character behaves a certain way, right? Based on the past that you gave us as I read that past, right? I bought into how it changed them, and then for them to move forward on that path based on how you, and then do something totally different.
Right.
I'm like, oh, you broke the story.
Okay.
I felt like they broke the story. Should have at least beat her up. At least.
I love it. All right. So yeah, that was part of the reason I brought this book on, was because I felt like it would be a good conversation. Get some emotion out of all of us.
Yeah, come on, dude. Caesar, look, I'm gonna tell you. Well, we're not gonna get into don't hit women conversation. This is not appropriate fare.
Right.
But anyway, should have beat her ass.
All right. So those are my two picks for the week. Manuel, you want to go into your first issue?
Sure. What an introduction. All right, my first issue is Freshman #1. It follows the story of a few college freshmen. They actually have kind of established unique personalities, and something happens. It really isn't explained in this issue, and not even the issues leading or after it, following, that these college freshmen actually get superpowers. But it's based off of what they were doing at the time in which this event happened. So they're normal college kids, just getting into the war, just getting into the dorm. That's the setting, this dorm. There is a guy and girl. They just happen to be engaging in amorous activity. And when the event happened, they have push-pull powers. There is this one guy, he just so happens to be cartelling, he's cultivating his plant. Just so now when this event happens, he has plant-based powers. He can actually speak to plants. So you have this event where whatever you're doing at that moment, you get superpowers based off of that action. This one guy, I don't want to tell everyone's stories, but it's really interesting. This one guy, he's looking at his endowment. He's not happy with his body. And when this event happens, just so happens he has enormous growth in a certain area. So how do you now form a group of superheroes, because they want to do good, they have given these powers for a reason? How do you form a group with these eclectic abilities? Talk to plants, push-pull powers, enormous endowment, and the like. This one woman, she can make you in love with her. So it's an interesting story. I got into it based off of Free Comic Book Day, and I then was a college freshman. So I have an emotional appeal to it. You guys' thoughts?
Right. Okay, I'll go. Art was decent. So here's the thing. I like idea of characters that are mutated that have not obviously useful powers. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of that, right? Everyone isn't strong. It can fly. It can read your mind and bench press or whatever. You know what I mean? I like, what happens if people get weird powers, like the wild cards thing I talked about offline yesterday, right. Like that series. So the idea of that always interests me, right? I felt like in this book, it's only in the last 5 pages that you actually get to see any of that. So the other 20-something pages are really full of selfish people I don't like. Right? When I think about, like, who do I like in this group, right? Who do I identify with, right? Is it the black jock who likes plants? And now plants really do have brains that they can think? No. So now I got to suspend disbelief already because, even in this universe of people getting powers, plants don't have the powers to think, right? So, or see. So I realize there's some little magic element, right? That's more than just science mutation, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, got it. That's how it is. That's how it works. But always in any book, in any new book, I look for the character that I want to follow along, who I want to walk in their shoes. I want them to walk me through this world. And except for the arrogant plant guy, you know how some of these food guys are. I didn't really like I mean, I wanted to like the woman, the girl or whatever she is, who, basically we follow her through the whole book. But I just, you know, I remember when I was a freshman and I was an arrogant son of a bitch that kind of knew everything. I was that guy, right? So I get it. And when I look back, that wasn't a good look for me. So when I look at this, I'm like, I don't really like these people, let alone their fracked up powers. But do you really trust these people with these powers to go fight crime and fight evil when they are stuck in their own mess? I don't know. So I wanted to like it. I liked the premise. I thought the art was decent. It drew me in. It didn't really distract me from any part of it. There were a little bit where it was a little unclear point to point, but there's a lot of detail that I appreciated. I like when you look into a room and you can see every hanger in the dorm room when the closet is open. Yeah. I like when an artist gives me that level of detail. I am appreciative of that effort. Because there were a lot of panels where there was just like a red background or white background. But when they gave me the details, they were there. For me, though, because I am a little older, if I read this for the first time now, I probably would not follow along because I don't like any of these guys. I might read a second issue. And I do like the idea of random ass powers, but we already know where this is going. We already know they're as jacked up with their powers as they are with their personalities. And this is a train wreck book. And some people can't help but stare at train wrecks. This may be for those people, but for me, it doesn't quite work. Hope that wasn't too much. Matt?
So for me, this is Mystery Men meets Van Wilder.
That's good. I like that.
That's kind of the impression that I got. I never had this type of college experience, but it was always something that I thought would be cool, like especially growing up in high school, like looking forward to the college experience.
Right.
This is kind of what I envisioned. I envisioned, showing up on campus and there's a rally and there's a frat party and, all that type of stuff going on. And so like that was kind of cool for me because it sort of took me back to that mind space. I agree with Russ with the characters. Like they're all kind of douchey, but we were all a little douchey, I guess, maybe back then because we were trying to, become our own selves and just break out of the shell and stuff. But the artwork is really good. The story is really good. I tend to like comics that are a little more verbose, and so I enjoyed the sort of the background that was happening with the main character and what was going on in her head and like taking us through this journey. I am kind of interested to see like what happens with some of the characters and their powers. Again, like Russ said, I like the idea of these weird ass powers that maybe don't necessarily you don't immediately see the utility of them, right? And so like finding out what those scenarios are going to be to utilize those powers is interesting. But yeah, this issue by itself just sets it up, and I would have liked a little more of the comics to have been focused on right after they got their powers and maybe the reactions that they have with that. But overall it was good. And the beaver, I mean, the beaver is, I think, probably going to be my favorite character moving forward.
Yes, because every comic should have a beaver.
Right.
It was created by Seth Green too, which kind of intrigued me about this whole thing. Seth Green, the actor. Mm-hmm. But what you said about Roadhouse, about the amalgamation of these two things coming together, like that's a perfect fit, perfect explanation for it.
Mystery.
Russ, on an interesting note, right?
I was gonna say Mystery Men meets Van Wilder.
Yes,
I think that's a good take.
They actually should have put that in the tagline. If you were a vegetarian, you only ate plants, and then now you find out that plants are sentient. What kind of moral quandary would you be in? Because you have to eat. So you only eat like tofu, synthetic things. That's the one of the struggles that the plant guy has. Now, it's not necessarily a life-changing, well, it could be mean life or death, but it's not necessarily like one of those great big struggles. But it's interesting, I find, that he now has to deal with something that no other human being on the planet has to deal with, talking plants. And they're romantically in love with him too, because he's watered and cultivated. And it's just I would think it's this type of ridiculousness that you would be in line with.
Okay,
Because
you
is not enough murder? Is that
yeah,
it?
you make a good point. I guess I sort of made my peace. You know, there's some they say that people would not eat meat if they had to kill it themselves.
Right.
Right. Like if you had to kill your own meat, would you be wrestling? Like, because I'm not really finna wrestle a cow. Like, come here,
Right.
Bessie. Get up in here, right? I'm not, so, but I may pay my homie to do it, right?
Right.
I might learn how to strangle chickens, though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? I might be wanting to learn that, right? So when it comes, see, I don't know if you've read any of the other books.
Mm.
I actually went and read the second book, or began the second book, just so
Mhm.
you know I didn't give up. Like maybe there's something there. There's a part where a guy is smoking a blunt and the weed in the blunt, long dead. Oh, stop! It burns. That was too much because the weed is dead already, right? I understand if it's in the ground, I can work with that, right? If it's
Okay.
still alive, right? But if the lettuce in my refrigerator
Mhm.
saying no, stop, no, that the lettuce just gonna have to die, right? Because I'm having lettuce on my sandwich.
This might be pseudoscience, but
Mhm.
they've attached a lie detector test to a plant and attempted to just cut it, burn it with fire, and the needle moved. So,
Okay. Yes,
throwing
but that
out
doesn't mean sentience. That could just
Yeah, true.
mean pain,
True.
right? That doesn't mean it's just like plants grow towards the sun. You know what I mean? Plants tend to avoid what is killing them and grow differently. Anything that harms them, they at their plant-based speed do avoid and do react to. Like plants supposedly react to music, right? I accept that plants sense the world through whatever they have, to sense with and react to that. I don't think that's necessarily sentience. And when you say sentience, what does sentience mean? So what does that really mean? Is a cow sentient?
This is a tangent. Sorry, Matt.
That's all right. You don't care.
There was
Oh,
Outer Limits episode where what it means to live or to be alive, and this was with an AI. And at the end of the episode, the AI was faced with being disassembled, and it said, "I don't want to die." So the whole theme of the episode was being sentient. To be alive is to not want to die. And then this robot was faced with disassembling or being disassembled, and it stated, "I don't want to die." So maybe sentience, I don't know.
Well, see,
Because
that could be, when I think of AI, I think of somebody programmed it. You know what I mean? Someone wrote the code, right? And I think no living being of any kind, plant either, wants to die. But only high-level thinking beings commit suicide,
okay.
right? Because cows ain't trying to jump off a cliff or eat poison. They just ain't trying to do that, right? Even they may make a mistake and eat the wrong thing, but there is no animal or plant that is trying to kill itself, right? That is, to me, the hallmark of it, because even roaches aren't trying to die, right? I got no problem with stamping them out, though, but roaches are not trying to die. I don't give them sentience. So I think sentience is a level of awareness. Was it the Turing test?
Yeah.
You got to pass that. And right now, so far, AI is way away from passing that, right? There's a whole, Sarah Connor thing. I get it, but
Sophia.
we got a long way away because everything that a computer says, somebody wrote it. right?
Right.
Everything that a computer has to choose from in their consciousness, somebody wrote it. There isn't a young computer that is sitting there going to school and watching TV. I mean, maybe in a science fiction world, so that they could one day be sentient, you know what I mean? Or one day get that, because you're not going to stuff that in them, because you need all these tangents and all these different experiences that make us what we are. Otherwise, you know, I couldn't get it more than an animal, but it would be pre-programmed responses. So no, plants not sentient, kill them and eat them.
I promise you we'll make this quick. The robot Sophia, the AI Sophia, is the first one that has gained citizenship in any country. And the country was Saudi Arabia. And that was, I think, last year. This robot was created in 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So,
Okay,
Yeah,
but
I
I can
read
give
about.
citizenship to a book. I mean, you know, I can give citizenship to whatever I want. That doesn't prove sentience. That just means I want people to know me. And I can write the code in this thing to make sure it follows Islamic law, right? So if it's never going to break from Islamic law and it's going to take a talk to people, I can give you it's like having an honorary doctorate. Don't make you smart.
but it had a full-on conversation with Tony Robbins recently.
Yeah, but I'm sure he was coached. I'm sure he was coached. Look, there's a lot of these little AI programs that you could type into. Like my favorite one when I was a teacher was SantaBot, where you would talk to it and it would tell you it's really Santa, and you would come at it and it would have something for it. And then finally, if you were good enough, he would actually tell you he was a robot, but he's also Santa. You can go deeper than that. And I love that conversation, but you can't really talk to him about geopolitical politics, right? You can't talk to him about what touching feels like, right? They're just, you know, or nonverbal communication. You can't go there. But Tony Robbins didn't go there. You know what I mean? He asked him about things that are in this wheelhouse. I'm not giving sentience or citizenship. Don't get me wrong, I'm down for AIs to come out and just be really being able to do whatever they got to do. And by the way, just because I broke a robot's arm doesn't mean I killed the robot. The robot is the consciousness, right? The programming. I could put that in anything, right? I could put that in my car. Right?
Before we wrap up, shout out to our robot overlords in the future.
Word. And I would really like to have a dialogue moving forward.
All right. Very well then. Emmanuel, your next issue.
All right. The next issue is Catalyst Prime, issue number 4. Like I mentioned at the start of the episode, we went over Catalyst Prime, issue number 1. The premise is these seemingly robots, they've come to Earth, and these aliens, really, they've given the world 7 days in which to live. They're going to destroy the world in 7 days. This is issue number 4, day number 4. Now, a lot of things have happened. They've actually figured out a way to, they meaning the heroes. On this planet, people have powers, and not everyone, but some people have powers. And this issue, I keep saying episode, this issue, it goes into a little bit of detail about this rogue group of people with powers and how they come back. They've actually figured out a way to fight the android-like beings, the scouts sort of, that have arrived on the planet, and they've taken them out. But it's still difficult. There's still some back and forth. And it's some interesting dialogue with the powers that be as well. This is issue number 4, day 4. You guys' thoughts?
So I follow Gail Simone on Twitter, who's the writer of this comic. If you do not follow her on Twitter, I highly recommend it. I will even link to a Twitter thread that she had not too long ago, a couple of days ago, that was a really interesting read. I'm still enjoying this. This is still really well written. The art is still clear. It was kind of interesting to find out that the Obsidian Men it's not metal, it's scales. So they're actually lizard people. I didn't really know a whole lot about the what are they called? The X-Men like characters. Starts with an I. I'm trying to think of the name.
Oh, kind of like the outcast, or yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
Um, yeah,
incidentals.
the incidentals. So those guys were kind of interesting, and I would really like to learn more about them. And like at the end of the issue, there's a little preview of what their comic is like. The problem that I'm having with this is there's so much going on, and it's a lot to follow. But I don't know. I might just have to go back and give it another read, and go start from issue 1 and get to issue 4 again, because it's a lot.
I agree. I think they should be read in order. I think it's one of those things where, first of all, when I read the first book, I liked the idea of it more than I liked how it came together. But each book, I want to say episode, each issue after the first more defines the world and introduces more characters. That more defines the world and introduces more characters. The incidentals have 2 years for the books. Every main character in this have 2 years full of books that you haven't been reading. So Lion Forge has been kicking ass all over the place for every one of these characters, right? And if you like any of them, please do support Lion Forge to take a look. I think issue number 3 was better than this issue number 4, but this issue number 4 does logically follow. I like the sacrifice at the end, and I liken them more to Doom Patrol than I liken them to or Challengers of the Unknown than the X-Men.
Okay.
Right. In that they are destined probably to all die horribly, right? But they're good people. So I like how in the issue before, the evil guy explains himself, where he comes from, why. So it all makes sense over time. But the fact that this series, because this is you know how they have event television where they have 8 different stories and you don't know what the hell's going on. You just follow this character goes from A to B, and this other character goes from A to B, and this other character, right? And so this is an event series, right? It ties in at least 8 different character books, right? Maybe more.
Yeah.
And brings them all together in a way that is in alignment with those characters, right? So that is a tall order. But I think that after issue number 1, every issue brings you more what you need to move you forward. And so it just has gotten better moving forward. I do recommend this series for that reason. And I like there's an autistic character. I don't think he showed up in this one.
No.
But he was the one who gave them what they needed to begin to defeat the others in issue 3. And for me, that's huge. As some autistic kid who's fighting crime, but still autistic and knows that he is, always been that way. And yet he is the one that simulates this change. I like that the characters in this issue that were villains are now also fight. So this is a world event. And then you can follow this world event. And I really think you do need to read all the issues. I don't think there's a one issue jumping on point beyond issue number 1.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a trade graphic novel.
But I think that it's I think the art is there. I think the story is there. I think there's so many characters. I can't remember all them friggin' names, man.
No.
There's so many, right? And yet, everyone gets a shine. You know what I mean? Everyone gets a chance to shine. Whether it be an explanation, whether it be a 2-page spread, everybody gets a little something in every book that moves them forward just a little bit. So I have to give Gail Simone, I kind of always like Gail Simone anyway. I was a little worried in the beginning of this, but as I move forward, I'm really happy with the product here. So I'm going to say as a series, not as an issue by issue, definitely as a graphic novel, this is probably worth your time. And if you see something you like in any of those characters, now you have a whole bunch of other series to go back and read, which I highly recommend. So there's a few people that I like here, including the Challengers of the Unknown. The incidentals are interesting. Noble is interesting. Quinn Credible is interesting. The autistic kid and his homegirl is interesting. So there's a lot there. And these are all separate books that have at least 24 issues out there. You know what I mean? So, and then you can find if you like more of this. So this issue on its own, I can't give it the praise I would like. As I like the series more than I like this individual issue, but I do like all the issues. Is that clean enough then?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I don't have anything additional to add. We want to move on to Russ's.
Yes. Okay. So here we go. No one left to fight. Number one. I just got on into this because of the cover was dope, and I was like, oh shit, right? And then I read it, and I was like, this is Dragon Ball Z, but with more human-looking characters and some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle type things and power-ups and everything. And it is so colorful. And I wish the first issue there was more, but if you read the second issue, it just continues on its path. This is a Dragon Ball Z kind of world. It looks amazing. The details are there. And oh, fuck, the colors. Oh, shit, right? Everything I want is there, and everything I liked about making me feel part of the family, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles doing Dragon Ball Z does, this series does. Just everything that I want from those is here. And then there's lore, right, that you can begin to follow if you want. And you get to understand the backdrop. And you don't get to know everybody's powers, but you get to know sort of what's there. And does people even have powers? Is it Dragon Ball Z type powers? Is it just fighting powers? And then you see someone do whatever you call that. That's in there. What do you call that? It's not Hayuken. It's Kamehameha, yeah, right? And you see somebody do that, and I'm like, oh shit, right? And even the pet octopus who never talks is fucking awesome. So it just made me feel good and happy. And it's like, this is right into the things that I sort of liked as a kid, as if it continued. And then that they have the nerve on the cover to say the comic you always wanted, that's some nerdy shit to do, right? I felt like the series definitely delivered. That's my take. What is yours?
Neon Steampunk Dragon Ball Z. That's
ching. Yes.
Yeah.
You're batting 1,000 with these.
You are.
I'm good at the small descriptive chunks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, basically all the same things that you were saying, Russ, of what drew you to the comic is kind of all the stuff that I picked up on. I don't really see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aspect of it, but I do see the family elements of Dragon Ball Z and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like that whole dynamic.
For me, the TNMT was the animals. The snail
and the octopus,
squid, crab guy.
Okay.
The family issue, like we are all family.
Okay.
More so than Dragon Ball Z was sort of a lot of separate characters. And here, everybody's family. Right. And that's what TNMT has sort of always brought from the beginning.
Yeah.
So both that and the anthropomorphic animals is what made me add them into there.
Okay. Yeah, as I was going through the issue, I sort of kept asking my question, what happens when there's no one left to fight? Maybe it's just good times and you just hang out. And maybe your brother wants to pick a fight because he doesn't have anybody else to fight. Yeah, overall, the artwork really blew me away. I love the detail and the style. And this would have been something if I was reading it, at age 12 or 11, like these are characters I would be drawing in my notebook at school. It's just, it really comes alive. The color is incredible. It has that pastel neon going on, but still has like the depth and those are my thoughts. I might check it out. Might go on to issue 2. I'm kind of curious to see what real conflicts these characters are going to have, though, because I don't want the I don't want the comic to just sort of continue on in this sort of whimsical, or have just that whimsical aspect to it. So it'd be interesting to see like what real threat do they face, and how do they face it as a family.
Yeah. Good stuff. I really enjoyed the art too. So it's 3 out of 3. The 3 of us are raving about the art. And I think it's worth a mention. Fico Ocio, I may have butchered that name, but the artist. I love it. Fico, I'm not sure. The issue of what happens after there's no one left to fight, I guess infighting. Does your brother actually want to sleep with your wife?
Right.
Like that's one of those issues that I guess real people face. So it was great. I really appreciated the fact that I didn't feel lost, even though there was this war that happened. This is issue number 1, but there was this war that happened prior to this issue, and the main character, as we are introduced to this family, he is coming in and he's revisiting his brother and his wife, but he has fought and won this massive war and saved all of these lives. But yet still, as a reader, I didn't feel out of place. I didn't feel like, okay, wait, what happened? It just seemed as if this is a natural continuance from another story that will happen now. Like it's not an ending, it's the beginning of the hero's journey after he's fought and defeated his biggest battle. That was great. And it's good to, since I'm an uncle too, I'm kind of relating to that. Like seeing like the niece and nephew really like appreciate him, and he's just a single guy, and seemingly his best days are behind him. It's more to the character than just fighting. It's like I'm going to say human being, but he's an actual character with thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
Yes.
And he's fought, and now what happens? Now what do? I have all this power, but there's no one left to fight.
Yeah.
So,
and I think also when you look at people, human beings that were fighting in the war, there's a PTSD issue.
Right.
You get people that have been in for 3 years or less, and they come back where they can't fully survive in humanity. You know what I mean? They can't, not without drugs and not without all these other things. And because we don't really have any science, we say we do, but we haven't cured PTSD. We haven't cured crazy. We haven't cured pedophilia. We ain't cured none of that, right? We don't have any of that, all this technology, but we don't have cures. So what happens if you fought the battle for the planet that almost died multiple times? How do you expect me to come back and live a normal life? What does that even like? Right? How do you expect me to be comfortable? How do you expect me not to sleep with one eye open? How do you expect me not to just, I'm just going to go after what I always wanted, even if somebody else's wife? All right. So I think that is another aspect in there. And I like that all these things are subtle, right? He's not an old looking dude. He's still got a whole nother, you know what I'm saying? He's 30 something at the most. He's still got a whole life. He could, whatever, right? And how do you deal with that? Your emotions, your feelings, your memories that keep popping up, your PTSD. And while that is all happening, the comic book still looks fun and inviting.
Yeah.
It still brings you in. I just got that juxtaposition that you sold me all these things that are in there, the levels and the layers that are in there. And yet I love every panel.
Yeah, it doesn't have like some of the comics that I've read that try to tackle deeper, darker aspects of the human psyche. They feel oppressive when you read them. This doesn't have that because of how light and colorful the art is.
Yeah, so I highly recommend this. If you're tired of the same old, because I would love for DC or Marvel to do a book like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And make me feel like this. Like it's a visually stunning and amazing to look at. It gives me layers and depth, right? And when the people on the front of this book said the comic you always wanted, it kind of is that I didn't know I want, you know what I mean? But it kind of does hit those boxes. Like what drew you to comics? What keeps you in comics, right? Yeah. dealing with these issues, having these powers, because we kind of like superpower books mostly, but real issues and real things through this whatever lens, and make it look pretty, make it look stunning, right? Because otherwise I can just listen to an audiobook, right?
Right.
And this, I feel, checks all those boxes. And I'm always looking for the next book that makes me feel a certain way. And this one did. And I was happy to share it with you. And I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Any
I'll move on to the next one.
All right.
Murder Falcon. All right. This is one of those issues for me in the vein of Shirtless Bear Fighter and the other things that we sort of enjoy. Basically, it's a character who is, he's just, even when in the end he doesn't get any powers, but he's just a metal enthusiast. He loves to play it, listen to it, and live the metal, the music life. And somehow that has reached through another universe to draw on someone else who thrives and fights evil with the power of metal, right? Like how, this is Biker Mike from Mars. This is, all these other things that I liked. And yet it had the level of violence that I wanted. And it's just, and you don't know, and I even like at the end, like the last thing where we have to, whatever, which I won't spoil. This as a self-contained issue, say, I kind of do want more of this. What do you guys think?
Okay. This is definitely within your wheelhouse, Russ.
Yeah.
Yes!
If I would have read this, I would have posted and tagged you in. If I would have chosen this first, it would have been an ode to you, because I kept thinking Thori the Murder Dog. Just about anything with murder in the title. That's all you all day. The ridiculousness of the fact that you can make him stronger, make the Falcon, Murder Falcon, bird person. You can make him stronger by strumming the guitar as he plays. Oh gosh, this was fun. This comic was just pure fun, pure Russ. It was good. I appreciate it.
Can you imagine the animated series of this? Just metal coming out of everywhere. Yes.
I could imagine
great.
more.
I love all types of music. But
I was gonna say I can imagine more than an animated series. I can imagine a live action movie starring Jack Black and Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yes. Yes, God. Exactly right.
I need that in my life now.
See?
I need that. Oh gosh.
And now remember, this is a Skybound. This is on Image, but it's Skybound. And I feel like Skybound, everything they do is designed to be on TV. Right? Yeah. All the way for everything Skybound does, I feel like, is it Mark Millar? Is he Skybound? Who's Skybound? Who's the main guy?
Robert Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman. Yeah. If you think about it, Robert Kirkman, everything that he does is made to be on TV, isn't it? Everything that we like about him either has been or will be on TV.
I think we had, two issues of Skybound stuff that you picked last time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my comment, was that Kirkman's just building up his database of stuff to use for TV.
Yes, you want your stories everywhere. Imagine if we got together and wrote a book. Don't we want everyone to see it?
Yeah.
Of course. Let's package it. Let's do that going in.
Yeah.
When we see a kid, imagine you walk out in the world and you see a kid just so into something, so passionate about it, right? And then you make that a book.
Right.
Right? That same passion. This to me is, I knew people that were into metal that much.
Yeah.
Like metal is like the second coming, right? There was, I'm from Compton, so there was, I was talking to a pastor and a person that was coming into church, and the person that was sort of from the hood, right? And he said something that sort of really made me think. He says, I believe in God, but I believe in blood too. Like blood, like when I was like, wow. Because I couldn't say that out loud, but the depth of that, right?
Right.
Like this is part of my essence.
Yeah.
right? This is a thing. You can't just say this is whatever. This is just how people react. No, this is my essence. Right. And I was like, oh shit. Now imagine if metal was in your essence, what this book would be, right? And so when I think about start writing a book one day, I think of what is in someone's essence that is ridiculous to everyone else. And it's irrelevant that it's ridiculous to everyone else, but it's in my essence. So I'm gonna move forward with that. And those are characters that you want to follow. Right. And I felt like Murder Falcon, and remember, this guy wrote and drew the whole book.
That I did not know, because it's got two names at the top.
Story and art. It says by let me go back. Let me open it up again.
Oh, so the guy the second name is the colorist. Mike Spicer is just the colorist, but Daniel Warren Johnson wrote and
creator, artist, writer, and letterer.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Is
that not talent to behold?
Yeah, I mean that's a lost art too, to do the letters.
Yeah. Right, and I'm thinking, Matt, he did what you should be doing. When I look at this, I'm thinking, couldn't Matt doodle this up? Right, story, art, the whole thing.
Yeah. This
is you. He's doing what you should be doing. Your book should be out there like this, right? Get somebody else to color it. Fuck them. Just draw it up and put it on your tablet. And get somebody to color it, and let's get this shit done, man.
Put me on blast on the internet.
This was high school you, Matt.
Yes.
Visually, that was high school you.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Just putting it out there. I'm working on it.
Okay. I heard you say it. It is now everyone can hear it. It is now recorded on YouTube forever.
Yeah.
So I will come back and for my pound of flesh.
I can tell you that it will not be Murder Falcon. It won't be metal like that. But
can it be Murder Poodle, perhaps?
Anything with murder in it.
Murder Poodle, come on, dude. Murder Poodle just writes itself.
One of my favorite panels from this comic is when the main character Jake is about to fight the beast for the first time, and he points and he says, "There'll be no baby eating on my watch." Just
yes,
no baby eating on my watch.
And how I save the world, and I will save you, is with the power of metal. And just go in. He ain't smiling. He just going in. You know what I'm saying? He just. That's how, and the world will be saved today, goddammit. Right? Yes! That's what I want, right? That kind of commitment and power. And then what I also like is that this guy has issues. He has troubles, social troubles. Mm-hmm. And that's addressed in here, right? You get to why he's this way and what's happened in his life and how he's sort of going from place to place. But Murder Falcon comes back at the end and say, you know what we have to do, right? And I was like, yes. Now I want to read issue 2 because this Murder Falcon, first he was just sort of using him, but now he says, I'm here for your greatness as well, right? And I was like, oh man. So one guy did all this just for me. And I thank him right here on this screen. Thank you for creating that and for tickling my heart.
I want to point out that there's one panel that is totally a homage to Nighthawks, the painting. So if you guys are familiar with that painting, it's a really famous painting of people sitting in a diner late at night.
Oh yeah, I am familiar with that.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know it was called I didn't know it was called Nighthawks. Yeah. I've seen various versions of this. I even seen one with Hong Kong Phooey and
yeah. So it was interesting to see a homage to that in such a wildly animated book, with the creatures and just it's got a lot of movement to it. So it's just interesting. That stuck out to me for some reason that even was in there. But
so we like it.
Yeah. It's on the absurdity scale with Shirtless Bear Fighter though.
Yes, it is. 100%. I agree. But I like Shirtless Bear Fighter.
Yeah.
And I did go read other issues after the first one. I didn't stop. I was like, well, shit, if you're going to keep giving it to me like that, I'm going to keep taking it. Just give me more.
Right.
And I, and you think about these are comics that most people would never know about, right?
Right.
Unless you go to a comic shop, you don't know about these.
No.
But
yeah.
if all these networks are looking for the next superhero thing, look at this stuff, right? You tell me this isn't a show that people won't watch? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Right? Even No One Left to Fight. I think it would have to be animated though, because it's so much. You know what I mean? There's so much world in here.
Yeah, you couldn't do that live action.
Yeah.
But Murder Falcon is something you could. I mean, you might have to CGI the actual Murder Falcon, or you just prosthesis him, depending on how you want to do it.
I would love actual.
When I think of what is that guy Bruce whatever who has only one hand, he fights on Evil Dead. What is that?
Bruce Campbell.
Oh, I know you mean.
Yeah, but I don't know the name of that show. But this makes me think it could be in that vein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sort of evil.
I want to see this done with practical effects. I want to.
Yes, I do too.
I want to see Dwayne the Rock Johnson with a giant cybernetic arm,
right?
And a
Falcon, chicken head.
Yeah,
yes,
Falcon face. Falcon face makeup.
Even though it's clearly Murder Falcon, I'm just still gonna call him Bird Person.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh man. All right. So I did. We're already, I think, over an hour. We can keep talking if you guys want.
Yeah, your call.
I did. I did throw another thing into the top of the Google Doc this week, which is just a short article. It was published by Newsarama. It says Image Comics or Image Publisher. There are way too many books for comic stores to handle. And I figured, even without even reading the article, which is only like a few paragraphs, that tagline, that headline alone is a full topic of stuff that we could talk about. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were.
Okay, I'm going to go in. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start with, we come from a time, I remember when we used to watch television, and after midnight, TV would stop. Right? Where we would do whatever, some kind of trumpet or whatever, some kind of American flag, and TV was over. Right? I remember when we didn't have a lot of choices, and you had to watch Cagney and Lacey because that's what was on.
Right.
Not that it was a terrible show, but you had to watch Mary Tyler Moore because that's what came on at 10 o'clock. Right? And they were good stuff. Right? So now we have choices. Right? So when we were young, and we just talked about the kind of comics and things we like, there wasn't enough fare for us.
Right.
It just wasn't enough. Right? We were lucky to get any kind of Superman comic or any kind of some other kind of comic. We were lucky to get those. Now, we are in a renaissance of everything I grew up to love. I think I can imagine if someone brought me into comics now, there's so much to choose from. And there's a lot of bad comics, but the fact that there's too many means there's a lot of good stuff in there, even with TV shows.
Right.
Now, so there are not too many in that respect. There are not too many comics in that respect because there's a lot of good stuff here. What we don't have is a way for everyone to get awareness and access, right? We don't have a way. For example, I have 100 things in my Netflix queue, right? I got even, as in my Amazon queue and in my Hulu queue. I got all that, right? And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that I troll the internet personally to find out, right? Like Emmanuel, we were talking about this show that's up and coming with Andre 3000, right? That our feeds and everything brought into our consciousness, right? And so, so we don't have a delivery system. I would like to go to one site or on my phone, and you know how Google knows everything you like? Oh, I just had thunder and lightning.
Okay.
Google knows everything you like. And they would say, here's this, right?
Right.
Netflix is kind of good at that. I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's on some obscure network. I want to go to one site and it would tell me based on the things I watch and see, this is what you might be interested in. This is up and coming in our articles, right?
Okay.
And I want to be able to watch all of it. We don't have that delivery system. It's not that there are too many, it's that the old way of making you aware of it is antiquated.
Okay.
Right? There's never too many stories. You kidding me? How many books out there we never get to read and find out 20 years after the fact, right?
Well,
there's never too many, but they're there and they're never going away, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I could remember the old Witchblade live action series.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
I have it on DVD actually.
Right? Most people, in the last 10, 15 years never heard of it.
Right.
This is great TV. This is TV that's on par with what we watch now and love now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So no, there's not too much. Whoever says it's too much, fuck them. Now, if you have to only have shelves, that's your fucking problem, right? Instead of just having shelves, have a kiosk where people sit in front of the computer and find out about more and can log in and whatever, you know what I mean? And be part of the experience. Take turns at the kiosk, right?
Do you think
like a coffee shop. Go ahead.
Do you think the days of walking into the bookstore and being completely unaware of, let's say, just Marvel. Like, if you're completely unaware of this small comic book company, you're not going to know to search for it. You're not going to know to look for it.
Okay.
So the days of walking in and finding a hidden gem physically with your own two hands, ruffling through the pages and falling in love, you think they're gone?
No, they're not gone. We have to handle them differently. The way I found out about Murder Falcon is I'm part of a meetup that gets together out here and they sort of pitch books. Like at the end of every meeting, people go out to the comic shop because it takes place in a comic shop. Right. And they go out and pull a book and then they stand up in front of everybody. This is why you should read this. Right? And about 5 or 6 people pitch it. Right? And then we vote. Everybody votes for one thing. And the ones that win first and second place are the 2 books we read for next time. Right? Yeah. And if you like them, if you don't have them, you can buy them from the shop or they'll order them for you. Right? And then next month, we come in and we go around. It's like 20 people. What we like, what we didn't like, what was great about the book, and we share that. Including the comic shop proprietor is part of that group. And there are milk and cookies and shit there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's very much, and then we go out and they pitch it again. And there's a Facebook thing where they were like, this is the books that won. Let us know if you want them, whatever, right? So the way we go, comic book shops have operated in the past, like obscure nook bookshops, has to evolve, right? You got to have an online component and you got to do something to create community. It's your job to create community around that, right? To say, hey, if you bought X many books, you know how you go to restaurants and you click every time you go and you get a free one at the end of whatever, right? They have to do things to get you to come back in. Comic shops have to evolve. Now, I granted the profit margin is low. I get it, but you're doing it for love. So profit margin is going to always be low as long as everybody gets paid, right? Does it really matter? Yeah. If everybody and all the bills get paid, does the profit necessarily matter? If everyone makes their salary, I don't know. But it's not that there's too much anything. Comic book shops have to evolve, like this one I was telling you about. They have evolved. Now, what if on one wall, there's a kiosk? Things you should try. What if you had a website or a Facebook page? Here are the comic shop recommendations. You're already on our Facebook page. Here are the things we think you should take a look at, right?
Yeah.
They're, because people are attuned to getting their stuff that way and finding out about shows and TV that way, right? Why not every comic book shop have that, right? A lot of comic book shops have gaming festivals, right? Where you go in and do Magic the Gathering and whatnot to bring people in. There should also be a comic thing, right? And they do. They bring other people in, have someone, let's go through a digital comic together, right? Let's all watch a show together, right? And this group even gets together and watches comic book themed stuff together at different people's houses, right? Community, right? Community sharing, not unlike what we're doing right here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're seeing a lot more, like, it's not just the print comics or the trade paperbacks. It's toys, it's vinyl records. It's, you know what I mean? It's like you were saying, it is community. It's what are these things that sort of we get together and share with each other? Or, what are these trinkets that are extensions of our nerdery? You know,
Yes, and long live nerdery.
yeah.
Because I'm looking for a
You're
T-shirt.
gonna become a Nerdery Republic.
Nerdery Republic. I'm looking for a T-shirt for everything that I have ever loved. I want a Dragon Ball Z T-shirt, something that encompasses. I need one for everything. I need a Thundercats for everything. I need a Transformers for everything. I need a Biker Mice from Mars for everything. I need to be able to wear my nerdery out wherever the situation, right? And if I can have a full-on sports jacket with some Dragon Ball Z or someone pulling a sword in the back, I'm down for that, right? I want to wear my nerdery because it's part of who I am, part of what I'm proud. Remember, it's about the passion, right? So whatever you have a passion for, you should be able to, and products are for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what those products are for. That's what they support. I have this, at this comic book shop, I won this Hellboy Fist of Doom bank that you can put coins in. Now, how many coins it holds, who knows, right? But I have a lot of those nerdery things that mean something when I look at that thing behind you, Matt. I don't know what's there, but I'm sure, is that a Jabba the Hutt in the back? I can't tell. But everyone has a certain amount of nerdery, right? And wow, what a website, Emmanuel, nerderyrepublic.com, right? And then we sell all things nerd. Whatever it is, nothing is too nerdy for us. Nothing is too foolish for us. Whatever you love, come and dip your love in us and walk back with gems. You know what I mean? That's what, so no, there's not too many, damn it, because I still try to be able to have choices.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of, this is all there is. Like, there's only 3 Marvel movies this year. That's it. When I'm supposed to do all the other weeks, fuck, right? And yet now there's DC, right? I don't know if you saw the DC. You probably didn't watch Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Not yet. I will watch. Watch the whole thing.
There is. I don't. Can I spoil about who shows up in the crossover? Does that bother you, or would you rather I didn't? Just say you rather I didn't, and I'll stop.
I've been avoiding it on Twitter and Facebook and stuff.
Okay, then I won't stop. There's in the next to last 5 episodes. The next to last episode, there's someone that was so well hidden that you did not see coming, that I had to give credit the fact that it was not leaked in any way. And I was like, oh shit, what the fuck happened here, right? So much fan service that, I tingled inside, right? Like, what the heck? So now, is it as deep as you want it to be? No. Is it, you know what I'm saying? But the fan service level is so great. Just like the Star Wars movie, the fan service is better than the story in that last Star Wars movie, if you haven't seen it.
All right.
Now, I know we're running on time, so I don't want to keep,
Yeah. All right. Any quick, brief final thoughts? Emmanuel, I don't think you even talked about there being too many comics out there.
I agree. But what I really want to experience now, and if I have kids, have my kids experience, or even just young kids, they don't even have to be mine. What I really want them to experience is for them to walk into a comic book shop and, first of all, smell the books, because the smell of just books is amazing to me. Like, for it to get all of the senses, hear the pages being flipped, feel the texture of books. There's something to be said about a physical holding of the book instead of just having a tablet or going to a kiosk. But at the very, very minimum, going to the kiosk, we can find the solution to the problem by just having a kiosk. But for the lesser known comic book companies, if they can, just print out one, send it to the comic book shop, and then have that link so they can go online and find the others. Because that tactile experience, I think, is something that helped me love comic books. The feel, the smell, I've never tasted a comic book, but just all these senses of the comic. It's lovely.
I'm going to add to this. I'm going to say, go to your damn library, right? I went to my last library. They had a whole graphic novel shelf. Yeah. Not all Marvel and DC, right? You can sit there and just enjoy it, and you can check them out and bring them home. And you can check them out online, which you should be doing anyway, because all the library is now online. Go to your library. That is there. It's calling you. if you come from company, and why aren't we taking our kids to the library anymore?
Yeah.
Why don't we have a day at the library where you drop your kid off in the graphic novel section and say, do you, right? There are some comic book shops that do that are comic book / coffee shops, right?
Right.
And then they even have, there's one that I was following, I forgot, I don't know if it's in Atlanta or whatever, where this woman has started her own comic book shop. She even got put into a comic because it was such a noteworthy thing. But she has people on staff that is there to answer all your comic questions about every character. Like there's a job for me, right? To sit there as an old man. What about this? Well, let me break it down for you, son. And the whole nine, right? The comic griot, come on, dude, right? And wouldn't you go, right? Just to hear, you know what I'm saying? Just to see someone break it down for you. And there's a guy also, when you look at him as someone like, I want to go in there, I need somebody to argue with, or to bounce something off of, right? And there's a guy sitting there whose job it is to sit there for me to fuck with, and he just come back with knowledge. Yes, right? But again, this is about modernizing that experience in that store, and people aren't doing that as well, because maybe it should be a coffee shop, because coffee can be profitable, right? Maybe it should be a coffee shop, right? Maybe there is you pay a monthly fee, $5 a month, and you get a free cup of coffee, and while you're here, you can read. You get a free cup of coffee a week, and while you're here, just read whatever in the reading section. Just read, sit, chill.
Okay.
Right?
I like that
free
idea.
Wi-Fi, right? So someone has to design that place. I'm not saying I know all the numbers, and I'm not saying I know the whole business, so I get it. But someone has designed that place to find a way that it's something for every individual person. But if not, go to the damn library.
All right, take a look. It's in a book.
Take a look. It's in a book.
And on that note, here's the music and the outro.